What's going on YouTube? In this video I'm going to be talking about a topic which has been going on for quite a while, and that topic is Android versus iOS. Now the way I'm going to structure this video is I'm going to put it into 17 points of the similarities and differences between Android and iOS. Now just to get this point across, I just want to mention that you cannot say that iOS or Android, either one of them, are the best operating systems for any mobile device or tablet, because what is good for me might not be good for someone else. What is good for you might not be good for me. So it varies on different people of what they like and what they prefer, and also it will also vary on the device that the operating system is running on. Point 1, widgets. So as you probably know, Android is quite known for their widgets, because that is one of the things that is always usually on a Android background, whereas on iOS there are no widgets at all, but they do have notification center, which is getting slightly better, or as you probably know, it is in iOS 7. Point 2, company and developers. Android is actually run or made by Google, one of the two, and as you probably know, obviously iOS is made by Apple. Point 3, so as you probably know, on desktop computers they are actually making your mobile phones, smartphones, more interactive with your actual computers which you have at home, or your laptops, whatever you got. So as you probably know, with Android devices they actually work with Linux, but that is the way actually they have been made with Android. Usually you'll be obviously using Windows or Macs, because nobody really uses Linux. Those Linux that users are out there, please like this video if you are using Linux. And also iOS, they obviously have OS X. Now the thing I really like with iOS with this point is that the way they have literally synchronized the iOS 7 with Mac OS X Mavericks is really quite good, because it's really interactive now, because even Mac OS X also now has Game Center, and because of the Mac App Store you can actually download some of the apps that are actually on your iPhone and iPads or any Apple device you have. Point 4, customizability. So as you probably know, most people usually use Android because of the fact that Android is so free that once you have an Android phone you can do whatever you like on it. No, it's not even necessary to even root the device, because Android is so free that you can customize it in the way you want. You can literally download themes from the Google Play Store and just put it over your operating system, which is Android. But obviously if you have a Samsung or something you'll have TouchWiz, but I'm just talking about stock Android right now. So if you do want a theme or anything, it's just so easy. Also, as I mentioned before, widgets is just a lot more customizable. Whereas iOS, this is the main problem which I actually had. That's the reason why I moved to Android, and that is customizability. So as you probably know, with iOS is literally on lockdown. You can't really do nothing. It's basically limitless without a jailbreak. So if you do have a jailbreak, which I do use to jailbreak my phones, and I've actually jailbroken my iPhone 5s, which I don't use that much anyway because I'm not too fond of it. But anyways, if your iPhone is not jailbroken, it's really boring, because it's the same thing over and over again every day. Whereas on Android, you can actually customize it, change it every single day. So as I said, iOS is it gets boring because you're doing the same thing every single day. Most people won't jailbreak their devices, so they will be using the standard iOS home screen, which is sliding left to right and sliding down for notification center and sliding up for the settings, the quick access to all these settings. Point 5, easy media transfer. Now this was another thing which made me move from iOS to Android, and that was media transfer. First thing I want to mention is Bluetooth. With Android devices, as you probably know, most of the new smartphones have got NFC compatibility, which means if you want to transfer an image or a music file to any other device which also has NFC, all you have to do is touch the backs together and instantly the file will transfer. Also, as I said Bluetooth before, Bluetooth is another thing that is really good when you want to transfer files with your friends, because if they don't have NFC capability, then obviously if they don't have an iPhone and they have something like a BlackBerry or another sort of smartphone which has got Bluetooth, it's really easy to transfer the file and it's really quick. Whereas on iOS, all the iPhone, basically all the Apple products except the computer section, all the phones and tablets, they all have Bluetooth, and I'm sure when you jailbreak the phone you can actually transfer files from Bluetooth, but I'm not very sure on that. But I know for a fact that when you're not jailbroken, you cannot use the Bluetooth for any file transfer whatsoever. And this can make it really frustrating sometimes, although you can send files through WhatsApp and iMessage, but I'll rather send the file directly instead of using third-party apps. And again, with Android, you can just connect it to any computer, Windows or Mac, and it will come up as a USB storage drive, which means you can just drag and drop files onto it. Whereas on an iPhone or an iPad, you have to literally sync it to an iTunes library, and this can be very frustrating at some times, because if you have synced your iDevice to a computer at home, and just say you was on holiday and you wanted to sync some more stuff, but you did not have that same computer with you, you would literally have to erase your iPhone or do a backup. You just have to go through such a long procedure just to transfer some files, whether it's pictures, music, movies, whatever it is. You just have to go through such a complicated way. Although there's third-party apps out there like iFunbox, there are actually ways doing it, but it's just, there's no need for it. If iTunes was just so much easier, whereas you can just sync your stuff, whichever iTunes library is, just allow you to sync some files and transfer it onto your device. Point 6, call features supported. There's something called auto respond, which is also on iOS. It's nothing major, it's just a standard feature which usually comes on most smartphones. And on this point, iOS actually takes the lead, because iOS has do not disturb and also call back reminder. Point 7, internet browsing. So as you probably know, that as I said before, Android is basically developed by Google, and that means that on all Android devices, basically the new smartphones, their internet browser is Google Chrome by stock. But if you go back in time where smartphones weren't all this high tech and stuff, they actually had a Android browser which they used to use. Also, you can go to Google Play Store and download different browsers which other developers have made. Also on iOS, you get Safari, which is known also on the Mac, and that is iOS's browser. And also on iOS, you can go to the Play Store and also download different browsers. Point 8, available on. So as you probably know, Android is available on a lot of devices because it's basically an open operating system. So I'll just mention a few names such as HTC, LG, Samsung, even the Kindle Fire is running Android. Whereas iOS is also on lockdown, not in a bad way, because this is obviously Apple's way. They don't want to be able to give iOS out to the public, whereas they can install it on anything. So as you know, iOS is all installed on every Apple product except the computers, obviously. So I'm talking about any iDevice such as the iPhone and the iPad. Point 9, interference. Android, iOS, both touchscreen. Point 10, messaging. So on Android, they have got something called Google Hangout, and on iOS is iMessage. And I really like iMessage because on my Hackintosh, I've also got iMessage and FaceTime. So as I've got family and friends that also have Apple products, I can actually iMessage them and FaceTime them directly from my Hackintosh. Point 11, voice commands. So on Android, the voice command is Google Now. Google Now is mainly on the newer devices, which were basically late 2013 and starting of 2014. On iOS, it's Siri, which is known previously from the iPhone 4S, coming all the way up to the iPhone 5S and also most of the iPads. Point 12, maps. So maps might not be a main thing for some of you, but for some people maps is a major thing, because wherever they go, wherever they are traveling, they actually use the maps. So on Android, it's called Google Maps, and on iOS, it's called Apple Maps. Now, as you probably know, I said Google Maps on the Android. As you may remember from quite a while back, there was something called Google Earth, which is still here, and it's integrated with Google Maps, and I think it's really good because I've actually used Google Maps, and it's basically pinpoint direction where you need to go. Also, the Apple Maps is quite good as well, because I've actually seen where it's been virtualized the whole world. So I've actually checked in London on Apple Maps, and you can virtualize basically anything you want, buildings such as the Big Ben and so on. Point 13, video chat. So on Android, you probably know that Google Hangouts is also synced with Google Plus, which also means it's synced with YouTube. And I actually use Google Hangouts for my live streams because it's really easy to use, and also it's synced with our phones, smartphones, which use Google Hangouts, which is obviously Android phones. On the iPhone and iOS, they have FaceTime, and FaceTime is also very good because the thing I like about FaceTime, which is really nice, is the sound quality. The sound quality you get from FaceTime is really clear, and there's not really that much background noise, which makes the sound a lot more crisp and clear. And another thing about the video chats, Google Hangout can be used by anyone in the world because it is on the internet as well, which you can use from your computer, whereas FaceTime you have to be owning a Apple device. Point 14, app stores. So as you probably know, Android and iOS, they have got the most apps for any mobile device or tablets. They both have over 1 million apps each, and on both operating systems you can get basically exactly the same apps, unless obviously it's something like from Apple which has the letter I before it, and that's obviously you can't get that on Android. Point 15, available languages. Android 32, iOS 34. Point 16, latest stable release updates. So as you probably know, Android has got 4.4 KitKat, which is on the newer devices only. Some newer devices actually don't have them, such as some Samsung phones. That is because Samsung run their own TouchWiz kind of theme over Android, so their updates come quite later on. iOS, the latest update for them is iOS 7.0.4, which is just basically just fixes and patches for any problems that were in iOS 7. Point 17, device manufacturer. So as I said before, Android is on quite a lot of devices. So I'm just going to list a few more names, such as LG, HTC, Google, Samsung, Asus, and many more. And obviously iOS locked to Apple. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit that like button down below because it will help my videos out a lot. Don't forget to share this video. Thanks for watching. Please comment, subscribe, and